Hello, welcome to Bars and Bells. My name is Lauren.
And I'm Ian.
And this is week 2 of semester 6 of the Strength and Swings class. Over the last year, we've been working on our kettlebell skills, and this semester we'll continue working on them with some get-ups. And last week we worked on our two-handed swings. This week we're taking a hand away and working on that single arm swing. So join us soon for the kettlebell, but first let's get started with the body weight, and then we'll get rocking with that load.
With the body weight, let's start today at the feet, get to the floor, and then we'll check in with the head and neck from there. In a lunge foot, we'll be on those balls of feet or metacarpals. Nope, those are up here, so those are the metatarsals. But then right now, let's just find a quick rise on both, and then back down on a flat foot. That's a straight leg, and then those balls of feet on the other, prepping the foot for the lunge. Let's get back up. Nice little weight transfer there. And this time, bend the knee that you're standing on, that full foot on the floor. Then extend the hip through, straighten that leg, rise up to 2, come right back down, and do the same thing, that nice knee over toe action. Stay this height. And could you pull both heels off the floor, load up on those quaddies, and then extend those hips all the way through to finish tall, and then return the feet to the floor. We'll get all the way down on the ground this time as you do those knees over toes movements. Then the heels can lift to help us get low, and with the hands or without, knees find the floor and firmly extend those hips to tall. From there, we'll hinge on the hip like we will for that kettlebell swing and land on the floor, fingers, calluses, and full hands. Going through the hands again, it's heavy through the fingertips, heavy through those callus lines, blood donations screwed in facing forward. And then at the head neck now, extend the head neck, meaning looking forward. And then a chin tuck, small shapes are good here. Just keep the breathing. Repeat again, extension, looking forward, and then a chin tuck, looking between the hands. From here, let's do an ear to a shoulder, so a neck lateral flexion, and then back through the middle, and then return the other way, ear to shoulder. It doesn't matter if these ranges are big, it's probably best if they're small. As you do that one more time, ear to shoulder, we're looking for a very light movement at the head neck, and a very quiet but active rest of body. Let's just push that floor away, shake out those wrists, and this time make fists, aiming to land on the peace sign, that index and middle finger. Before we do the hand manipulation, let's just get back to the neck and outer rotation. So look over the right shoulder, reaching long into the crown of my head, then through the floor, and then to the other side. Keep the breathing. Are you still on those index and middle finger knuckles? As you return one more time, rotation that way, to one more rotation the other, and finish in the middle. Now a little bit of a wrist mobility drill here. Keep those armpits down as to pack your shoulders, and with one hand, open it and gently approach the back of the hand to the floor. It's not urgent that it touches, but wherever you get in the flexibility stretch, push into the ground to return home to stack. Repeat on the other side. Easy does it. Over on the wrist, straighten the elbow, packed shoulder, and push into the floor to return. One last time each side, breathing into it, the straight elbow, just like a kettlebell swing, the packed shoulder, also like that kettlebell swing, and push down, find stack, and final one over on the wrist. Back to stack. Quickly push the floor away with those fingertips. Let's get right back to those hands now, fingers, calluses, and full hands on contact with the floor. And how does that feel? Personally, it's always a little bit more open after a little bit of that flexion series, and I hope that's the same. You could hover the knees like I'm about to, or keep the knees on the floor as we get in touch with the core and then those shoulder blades. Push the floor forward through the hands, back through the feet, and hover the knees. Start with the shoulder blades in a retraction, meaning a squeeze, and then elevate to the ears. Push into the floor, wrapping the blades around the body. Pull down to the hips. Back together, retraction. Then same idea in the circle, we'll elevate. We'll push, protract. Pull down to the hips. Reset, retract. Place the knees down, hover again, and we'll switch our direction. As we hover the knees, pull down to the hips, push into the floor, shrug to the ears, retract your blades, and one more time, down to the hips, protract, push, elevate, shrug, retract, push the floor away. Whew. How does it feel to load up those hands, those shoulders, the core? Yeah, a little bit warm already. And we'll throw it to Lauren for some more hip mobility ideas here.
Let's get that lunge warmed up because you know how we do here. We do get-ups. So let's take that front leg and place it in front of us in that lunge position with a vertical shin. Right now, let's gather the tension pulling together where we pull our front leg in, tucking that femur into its socket as we gently extend the back hip. Now let's stay here, but change the force direction. So now we're gonna push forward and back. Nothing changes in the hip, but we create the tension pushing forward and back so much we could hover the knee. And then we continue pushing, we get to mid-station, and then we get to the top. And then we pull ourselves back down, control the landing. This time, could we do that again? Push forward and back, hover. Mid-station, up to the tip top. This time, peel that front heel off the floor if you want an added bonus. Now keep that front heel high as we pull the legs together, scissoring ourselves back down. Heel will land, bring the leg underneath, and let's repeat on the other side. Vertical front shin, front leg pulling in, back hip pushing forward. So right now that tension's coming to center, squeezing that back butt cheek. Then we'll start pushing down and away, creating tension away from center, and we'll hover the knee. And then we'll continue pushing to mid-station. And then we'll get all the way to the top and create that tension, pulling ourselves back down to the floor, soft landing. Now again, push forward and back, hover. Try to keep those shoulders stacked on top of the hips, mid, and then high. If you'd like, peel that front heel off, continue to pull yourself back down to the floor, soft landing, heel comes down, leg comes underneath you. Let's get into that plank position and fire up those abs just a little bit more. With our hands landing on the floor underneath our shoulders, our toes tucking, we're up into the top of our swing position here. In the top of our swing position, let's go through the checklist. The elbows are nice and straight. The shoulders are pulled down. The butt cheeks are squeezed. The abs could take a punch. And our kneecaps are pulled up, engaging our quads. Let's keep that tension high here for another 5 seconds. We're also gripping the floor. 4, 3, 2, knees down. Whew. Push the floor away. Let's get to standing and start playing with that kettlebell lightly. We'll tuck our toes, rock ourselves back via that toe squat. Heels will descend. Press through to tall. Give that a little shake and wiggle. Whew, that was some work there.
Sounds good. Kettlebell warm-up. We will get into the bottoms ups position with that kettlebell. Perhaps grab that nice light load or the one that's easy to manipulate, at least for right now. Take your pinky side of the hand and grab it near the kettlebell corner closest to you. If you stack your shoulder over top of the wrist, press into that kettlebell load and making sure that the wrist feels nice and stable. If that checks out okay, let's tip the kettlebell back, hike pass, and then up into that rack position. You can move your feet if you wish. Maybe a narrow stance helps or makes it harder, and hold that there for about 5 more seconds. Pack the shoulder, a nice firm grip, then open your stance if you'd adjust and return through the hike pass back to the floor and up. We'll be continuing those one-arm swings today, utilizing that hike pass. Let's do the same thing now on the other side. Stack, shoulder, over top of the wrist with a nice firm grip. Hike it or tip it back to the groin and up. And keep that other hand nearby just in case. I like to change my stance just that little bit. And we'll hold for about 5 more seconds, bracing your core, crushing that handle, and then open your stance, return it to the floor, and come up. One more quick set to follow, but first a little squat.
A little squat, so let's warm those legs up. And unfortunately, we're going to take one from Ian's playbook.
Unfortunately.
Despite me not liking it, it's good for us, so we should do it. We'll step our feet into our squat position. Let's first just pull ourselves down, get a little mobility this time, and then we'll add Ian's variation on this. So down here, we're hanging out. Let's go to the very most bottom position of our squat. How low can you go? Yes, your knees might fall in a little bit. For right now, that's okay. Could you almost get that bum to the floor? And then I want you to drive out on the feet, out on the knees from the butt cheeks, and let's bring that squat up a little bit higher. This position should be a little bit harder to maintain, a little more of an active position than a passive. Then push down and out on the floor and press all the way through to tall. Let's repeat that, but let's come down to that low active bottom squat, so not all the way down. This time, keeping the feet heavy on the floor, let's push out on that femur, trying to rotate it open and then back to center. Same thing other side. Try to rotate it open and back to center, and then pressing down and away to tall. And one more time, we'll come down here. And this time we'll try to turn in, but we'll still keep that foot connected to the floor. Roll in on the femur, open. Roll in on the femur, open. Now pushing down like you're pushing the floor down to stand yourself back up. Stay tuned.
Stay tuned. Now we'll be taking that kettlebell into that rack position and challenging ourselves to incorporate the overhead press. This is not easy, and a full repetition arm overhead is successful, but so too could be a partial rep that we return with control.
I may have gotten a little excited with the weight I chose. I forgot we were doing this. So we'll see how it goes.
I'm not saying as I look to that weight, but be careful and always just take your time and fill in the gaps with your strength with this type of exercise. So we'll hinge, we're stacked, we're packed on the shoulder, we'll hike past it, and it's up to the rack. I do like to take that step in, and with one beautiful press, hold it overhead, and then groove that pull back down to the rack, adjust the stance, and return. I was too focused on me to see Lauren, but I think that sounded pretty quiet, which means it's often efficient and good. So stay in control. Let's do it now on that other side. Yeah, that probably more challenging side. Here we are. So it's a hike pass. It's up to the rack. And core brace. Full body tension. Not easy. Oh, and we broke the rule.
Save that a little better.
We broke our rule.
We did break our rules.
But that's okay.
I got excited when it got up there.
Yeah, I did too. And then I saw Lauren going sideways, and that's why mine fell down too. But that's okay.
That's okay.
But always try to remain in control of that practice. But until then, one more squat.
All right, back to that squat. This time we'll be lifting those heels. So we'll pull ourselves down into our squat stance. Maybe not quite so low, but hang out. Now drive a heel off the floor, keeping that knee rotated open, heel forward, heel down, other side. Peel it off the floor. Keep holding, place it down, press through to tall. Now at the top position here, let's find a balance up on our tiptoes and hold for 3, 2, then heels will come down. We'll again pull ourselves down. One heel comes up, places down. Other heel comes up, places down. 2 heels come up, places down, push out of that. And we have one final version. Can we find our eyes? Stay on the rise as we descend. Keep the heels up, and then push down into the floor to stand back up. Control the down, flick through. Give that a little shake and wiggle.
Give it the shake. Today's workout expands on last week's practice where we worked on that get up. We worked on partial get ups last week, and this week we'll be adding on stacking them if you wish. So the first time we'll get to the elbow, then the back on the floor, then the elbow and then tall sit, and reverse our steps. Ultimately getting to the half windmill position, say like right there. Hold for a second or two, return to the ground, and then alternate on the other side. Lauren's down. Let's get down with her here and cue us through that, Lauren.
Whether it's with the bell or body weight, we'll start in the cuddle. We'll roll with the bell or our arm and press towards that firing range position. Heavy limbs as we push through the hip, pull on the elbow. Then we're pressing away from the elbow, returning to the back. We're using that hip drive again, pull to the elbow. Next step, going one more step further, squish the bug, hold. Then back to the elbow and away from up to your back. Next, it's to the elbow, to the hand. This time, we'll bridge and sweep. And let's hold for 3, 2, sweep back through. Find your elbow, push away to your back, pull the bell down, return it to the floor, let it go, and spin yourself around.
Right on.
Whew.
Time under tension, like how we finished that last week's practice with those kettlebell holds, and groove those patterns to be efficient and go to when you need them under this or a heavier load. So it's the same pattern here. We'll roll, and that's our firing range position to start. Drive off the hip and pull yourself to the elbow. Push away from the elbow, returning to the ground. Repeat the drive, add the tall sit. Hold for a second, pack those shoulders, then find the elbow and return to your back. And again, drive the hip, sit nice and tall, then bridge the hips and sweep the leg. hold for 3, 2, make sure we can breathe in there too. And then sit tall, find the elbow, and push away from the elbow to return to the floor. We still always like those 2 hands to come down, and we still like those no hands on the ground to come up and shake.
Following those get-ups, let's get into our single arm swing practice. So we'll start today just as we did last week with those hike passes. So standing behind your bell, let's go in the I go, you go pattern. So Ian will start here. He'll hinge on his hips, grip the bell with one hand, tip it on his belly, pack his shoulder, pull to the zipper, and then park. That off arm is swinging with you. It's coming to the side of the hip and back down. You're staying the same height as you go. 3's good, or 4. Place it down, stand up.
I go again.
I go again. Ian goes again. So if you're going with Ian, you're going again. You're pulling that bell to the zipper, staying the same height, maintaining that core brace, maintaining that tree trunk-like abs, 3 or 4, and then place the bell down, up without.
And repeating in this I go, you go pattern. We could do the same thing with 2 hands. So if the kettlebell swing is a new movement for you, return to either last week's episode to revisit, or you can do the same thing here with 2 hands. But Lauren's cues are great. The upper body is very active but quiet. The hips are back, and the feet are rooted. Right on.
All right, let's add to that and make it a single swing, single arm. Or again, return that 2-handed swing. One single swing is through, up, through, and park. Now, just like we practiced earlier in that plank position, that split second at the top of your swing, your butt cheeks are squeezed, your abs are braced, and that off arms come with you. Shake it out, repeat 3 on the other side. Swings come from my poor plant. That's 2 weeks in a row.
We'll move. I'm
Sorry, girl.
Fig. Clear
Okay.
your space. Make sure you have room.
Yeah, don't hit the plants. Make sure that off arm swings with you. You're using your abs as you pull, basically using your abs the whole time. You have a stable trunk, but it's the hips driving that bell through.
Time those hike passes with the breath, and that exhale happens when the kettlebell is about to fully extend or blast away from those hips. It's hi-ya, and it's a very quiet park. Keep in control. If it's a little bit loud on that park, consider pulling that kettlebell a little closer to your body before it hits the floor. So it's 3 repetitions here. It's the hike pass. The arm is coordinated with the rest of the body. We're pulling with the lats to the hips and exploding that kettlebell off the hips with the power of everything, namely the glutes. We'll come back to those kettlebell swings, and until we do, it's partial get-ups again. Just
From
which
the
direction,
top.
I'm not sure.
Down.
Nice.
So this time we'll be taking our kettlebell and we'll be pressing it overhead. Once it's overhead, our ladder will look like this. Step back lunge, back up. Step back lunge, open. Close lunge, stand.
So lunges.
Step back lunge, open. Rotate in.
3, 2,
Step
1.
back up. Pull the bell down.
Sounds good.
One thing to note, very important thing.
One thing.
When that hand is coming to the floor, you do not want to hurt your wrist. So to avoid hurting your wrist, I want you to think of hinging those hips back. Butt towards over ankle, hand traces quad, then stack. To get back, hip hinge, hips extend. So use those hips, create some room so that you don't smash your hand off the floor.
Sounds good.
First side, it's a zip up to the rack position. Then it's an overhead press. The leg you can touch drops back to that lunge, and then we stand up out of the lunge. And then we drop the leg back again. We open the front foot 90-ish degrees, and then we step back to center, press to tall. One more time, it's a step back. It's an open. It's a rotate hinge, hand finds the floor, stickity stack. Then use the hips to sit back and press, step through, press to tall, pull the bell down, return it to the floor. Oh, take your time.
That kettlebell started heavy, but it's actually feeling a little bit lighter, easier to control. If that's a place you are at in your workout, it's probably a good bell for you. If it's feeling heavier and heavier and heavier, maybe decide to bell down just a little bit for today.
Same thing, second side.
Sounds good.
To the rack, to the overhead. The leg you can touch, drop back. Remember that scissor tension as you pull down, and then press back up. And then step back, pull yourself down, step open, Step back to center, up to tall. One more time, step back lunge. Open up, rotate, hinge, stack. Then push the floor away, extending the hips. Front foot moves, press to tall, pull bell down. 2 hands, or 1, place it down.
Nice. We will continue the get up in just a moment, but first it's the one arm swings in our continuous fashion. I'll go first. 5 in a row, or up to that number, and feel free again to use those 2 hands if that's for you.
So whether it's a 2-handed swing or 1, you start in your setup, you tip that bell, you pull it, and you use the hips to drive through. As mentioned in that warm-up, it's the hips driving you and that plank tension at the top. So let me pop through your screen and punch you in the stomach and the butt at the top. Punch. Whoops. Punch. Those are supposed to be, that was a little aggressive if you could hear that, but aggressive can be effective. So keep that tension high.
High tension all the way from the floor. Firm grip on that kettlebell, packed shoulders, and again, it all starts and finishes with the plank tension in those abs. That's 4 already for that team, Lauren, or maybe even 5. It goes by quick. Let's do it one more time for those sets of 5. Hike out the top. Can we time that, as Lauren is doing so well, that we're as tall as we can until that kettlebell approaches hips, and then we integrate the hinge. Well, more swings to come, but how about a first set of get-ups? Conventional style. Let's get to the floor. Let's get all the way back up, all the way down on both our left and right sides.
So we'll start in the cuddle, and we'll roll through back and press that bell. It's one regular style get up here, using the hip drive, using the bug squish, bridging and sweeping, pressing away, rotating, and hippity hop. Now that leg you can touch will drop back. Step open, rotate, hinge, use that hinge, then sweep, then elbow. Keep the lats engaged as you press away to your back. Pull the bell down, return it to the floor. Spin yourself around.
Spin it right round and do it again, but it doesn't have to be fast. I was a little bit faster than Lauren there, so holding a time under tension can be a nice helpful way to bridge the gaps here. So it's a cuddle, a roll. This is that firing range. And now drive the hip. Sit tall. Bridge. Sweep. Press the floor away. Now implement that scissor tension, pushing forward to the front and back to the back leg to stand. Then we'll pull ourselves down with control. Open up, windmill, find the ground, stack and sweep. Then find the elbow, then return to your back with control. Cuddle, roll it. Maybe a different way of standing up with no hands. Whether that's a kip, a squat, a roll. We are back up, which means I think it's time to swing again. Let's go a set of 5 on both the right and the left. So ultimately a set of 10, and then that partner I will go right after. 5 right, 5 left, switch her out. Ready to go?
Yes.
Okay, set up, hike pass. 1, 2, body weight swing drills here as well. Be nice movements to pair the rise and the float and the fall phases of that swing with Lauren here, or with you at home with that kettlebell. So up to 5 repetitions, the hiya happens as those hips come through, and at 5 reps, that team will park it, then it's our turn to repeat.
All right. Remembering as we do these, they are our deadlifts, they're just more ballistic. So it's not that our knees are straining because we're snapping them, it's because our hips are coming over top. As we do that, we also have to think of all the other things. All your toes are touching the floor and gripping. The core is braced the entire time, including that down phase, and we're reaching the kettlebell out behind us.
Whew. We have a noisy water cooler
I know.
over in the corner there. We are trying to be very quiet with how we park those kettlebells on the floor. That team of Lauren and yours are ready to go. So let's do for 5 again, or up to that number. Finish like you could do more. I'm a little out of breath right now, but we're still working it. I could do more. Let's just keep it in that sweet spot as we learn and finesse the form. Squats. Oops, that's not a squat, that's a hinge. So again, avoid hips going down on your squat, on your hinge rather. Encourage those hips driving backwards, loading up the hips and the hams. And before I mess up the form too much more, let's just do it.
Tuning in. So if you went with me, we're breaking. We get to watch it. We get to make sure that the hips are driving back. The off arm is swinging with them. That bell is landing at about chest height. We're trying to control our recovery. As we're recovering, we're shaking it out in our legs and our arms to get ready for one more set.
Ooh. One more set sounds good. So again, rest in between, give it a shake and a wiggle, and check in on that high tension form. The hands, we're moving together as a team. The shoulder blade, we're packed. And if we're sounding like a broken record, imagine if this is your 1000th episode or more the way it's been for us. But that's okay. Stick to the basics like the get up, the swing and the squat to improve your strength and to have those measures of if you are actually getting stronger. It wasn't too long ago, Lauren was recovering from injury and wouldn't even dare swinging the kettlebell. So take your time. We know that patience will help your practice.
Wouldn't even dare.
Wouldn't even dare.
And now I would dare. So take that, kettlebell. All right, another set of swings here. Use those hips. Pack the shoulders. 5 is a lot. Don't discount that. You might feel that tomorrow. Take your time. Shake it out. Same thing, other side. That setup is very important, so take your time. Squaring up to the bell. Packing your shoulder. Bracing and getting ready. Finishing up your last 5th one there. And then I think we should ultimately finish with one more get up.
Nice.
Like press it and then do a get up down and get it back
Ooh,
up.
I love the reverse down. Nice.
All right, let's do that right now.
Okay.
So not too much rest. You might be a little winded through this get up. Take a break if you need to, but let's try to work through that with a hinge, a grip to rack, and an overhead press. And then it's that drop back lunge, the step, and the rotation underneath. The sweep through, elbow, press away to your back. Now we come back up with a hip drive, with a bug swish, with a bridge sweep, pressing the floor away. Front foot moves, hippity hop, pull the bell down, park it. Take your time.
Awesome.
Second
We
side.
got one last time, one last rep. Whew. Let's do it again. It's that hike to rack and press overhead. The leg we can touch drops back. We're open, we're rotating underneath that bell, softly finding the floor, and then decisively sweeping the leg, finding the elbow, and then do our back. Drive the hip in reverse now, sit nice and tall, bridge, sweep, press the floor away, square up a lunge, tall stand, return that kettlebell to the rack, and then ultimately return it to the floor. Check it out. So whether it's my own practice, exercising in peace and quiet, or with you here on YouTube, I go through that same checklist every time. It's just whether I say it out loud or not. Get that mantra, focus on your get up, and make improvements to your strength.
Excellent. That was our kettlebell class for this week. So week 2 of 7. What a great time. Next week we'll be back for, guess what, week 3. On Thursday, we'll be on the other side of the room with that bar practice, working on that hip strength and core strength. So stay tuned for that. And then Saturday morning, we'll play with, you okay there, Dragon? We'll play with our body weight strength,
I need to do some more swings in my own practice.
including rolls and working towards our handstands. So thanks for joining us tonight. Check out our Patreon page, check out our website, and until next, like and subscribe.
That's
And until
important
next time, take care
Stay strong.
and let's train soon.
Goodbye.
Goodbye. So you really